Hello friends, welcome to Exampur. I hope my voice is audible, screen is visible, all is set, whether it is or it is not. Just let me know about it. Then we'll start with the session as we are already studying about the concept or targets which we have set for the Niti Aayog at the rate 75. How much achievements we have gotten in the year 2022-23. We can talk about. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे what you will look at the perspective, you just need to know about the Niti Aayog targets regarding the particular sector, and at the rate 75 this is imposed. It is making the assessment of the 75 years, how much target has been achieved till far after the 75 years. ठीक है, so this is the point where we have to come nearby when we do talk about growth, and it is making the impact on prospectus of employment basis, which has to be determined with the help of investment in order to raise the productivity concept. In order to raise the nowadays problem is not all about the concept of employment only. It is the concept whether the growth and employment is occurring simultaneously or not. Then only it could be considered as the prosperity signal. Okay? It can be indicated as the prosperity signal when growth is taking place along with the criterias of employment, which is establishing the basis for inclusivity. For the time being, we have to look about the upliftment of the investment scenario in order to deal with the productivity concept. In order to rate the productivity, we need to look at the potential of the machinery, the resources we are making the use of. You have to think about how you can make the increment in the production level. The moment you are making the increment in the production level with the help of your skills, with the help of your technological perspectives, then only it would make a upliftment in the production scenario. Okay, you can take the example of it. Third, what we have talked about is the innovation. You need to give major focus on the innovation criteria. Then we have come across the problem of agriculture. As we are already aware about it, that this is one and foremost sector and the core sector for our economy. Our economy is considered as the agrarian economy. It means it is occupying a kind of major portion for the Indian economical segment. If we do talk about things is important, if we consider a sector, if we consider a thing as the important one, it might be occurring a major portion in the whole concept. If we are talking about economy, it might be occupying the major space in the entire scenario. Now, we have to look for the concept, what kind of investment we have occurred in case of energy sector, what we have studied in the last lecture. Okay, these all are the basis point we have discussed so far. Now, today onwards, we are going to discuss regarding the transportation part. If you have to deal with the transportation, in order to deal with the transportation, as I always talk about, what is the basic content you need to look at in order to make the economy prosperous. When I do talk about prosperity, prosperity is meant not only for the growth perspective, but the employment perspectives or employment generation. Clear? prosperity, if you have to take the growth as the signal of prosperity, you need to undertake the concept of employment as well. As prosperity is all about progress occurring in the economy. What does we mean by it? The point I am writing on it. Prosperity is nothing but the combination of growth and inclusivity. Inclusivity, we can consider it in the terms of employment. As you are providing more and more employment, it means you are generating the inclusivity in it. What does we mean? If we are making the more and more provisions for the employment basis, if you are making more and more provisions for the employment basis, means you are including more and more common people into the consideration. You are taking the common people along with the growth prospect. What does we mean by growth? Means there is increase in income. ठीक है? There is increase in income. Or we can make the assessment of the prosperity with the help of, if both the things are going along, it can depict the nature of standard of living. Now you might be thinking, why we are talking about such concept if the things has to be considered in transportation part? Because why we are making the exploration regarding the transportation part? Because in order to generate the employment basis, you have to create the employment. Or for that reason, you need to make the expansion of infrastructure basis, because infrastructure is the core part of every sector. Infrastructure is the core part of every sector. And transportation, infrastructure is the core part of every sector, and infrastructure is incomplete. Or paralyzed without the transformation upliftment. Getting my point? What I'm saying here is, in transportation and the transportation and the communication part is the main basis for infrastructure. Clear? So in order to, we can make a flow chart over here. You might be understanding about the thing कि if you have to look at the growth, if you are talking about the growth is totally depending on the various sectors, and apparently it seems like infrastructure is the core part of those sector. ठीक है? Apparently infrastructure is the core If you have to make the things prosperous, if you have to make the things prosperous, you need to generate more and more income or employment basis in order to develop the prosperity signal. Like if you want to have the growth in the economy, growth could be uplifted through the sectors, and sectors are making the dependence on the infrastructure. Sectors are making the dependence on the infrastructure part, or infrastructures are making dependence on what? Infrastructure is totally dependent on transportation. Transportation, you can make the inclusion in case of transportation, transportation and communication. What we are talking about here is you can take at the time of this part, you can take the help of transportation communication with the help of Gati Shakti project, Gati Shakti project, which is working on these two criteria. Okay, which is working on these two criteria. Okay, so transportation, they are making the upliftment on the railway part. Second is all about railway. We can take the consideration of Bharatmala I am talking about, then the Sagarmala, Parvatmala. These all are working for the transportation perspectives or 5G technology, that is all setting the base for the communication. These are the core sector. Like if you have to make a deal, if you have to make a deal with any sector, you have to talk. You need to make a deal. In order to sign the deal, you need to have the discussion proper regarding the particular product and services or any kind of contribution or inputs you want to make the surety of. Then only you can make the transferability or transportation of that product and services. Getting my point? What I am saying here is, if you want any product and services, first you are required to make a talk, or that talk couldn't take place if we do not have proper management in the communication basis. So you need to set a basis for communication, or if you'll end up with this communication basis, you can continue this particular segment in terms of the transportation. Okay. What we are talking about here is why we are making the so much struggle on these aspects just to generate the basis for supply chain. Just to generate the supply chain. Just to generate the supply chain so that they can generate, they can like manage the situation of the employment basis, create the employment basis. Okay. So in order to have the employment basis, what you are required to do here is transportation. In order to generate the transportation, what you are required to do here is you need to build the roads. If you are building the roads, Bharatmala you can talk about. Earlier you do not used to have such kind of roads in the segment which is unreachable. At times you do get to see zones in the economy which are unreachable, inaccessible, or you are building the roads on that segment so that people could arrange to, or people could manage to reach out to the places through the roads. Or if you are building the roads, you would be having a kind of institutions, as education institutions I'm talking about, and hospitality, hospitals I can talk about. Okay, whatever level of economical activities you are making on the roads, that could that could give the incentivize the mentality in the mind of private investors that there is consideration of hospitals and institutions, so there might be possibilities of profit or margins on that road just because of there might be patient or customers after the opening up the base for the institutions and the hospitals. Getting my point? What I'm saying over here. Earlier, what I'm talking about, this was the place which was unreachable to the segment. unreachable to the segment. Earlier, there was no road through which people could reach out to this place and people could use the services and product. They need to go far away. In order to avoid the situation of far away, they used to have the consideration of less demand and services, which is becoming the less accessibility. Okay? If the things are less accessible to you, means there might be some uneasiness. If the things is uneasy, okay, uneasy for you, okay, it means things are somewhere inaccessible. Things are somewhere inaccessible for you. What I am trying to say here is, if you are building a road, especially on that area where it do not have earlier. If you are building the road, you might be having some kind of products and services you are opening up. If you are opening up, you are creating the fiscal stimulus. I am talking about on behalf of government. If government is building the road, if government is opening up the base for the business activities, means there would be consideration of incentives on behalf of private investors. Private investor will get a kind of decorum, will get a kind of a surrounding on which basis they can rely on. There would be a consideration of customers as well. There would be a possibility of more and more customers on this road. Since this is new, I should take the advantage out of this opportunity, what I am getting out of the new situation which has been created by the government. So this you can consider it as the fiscal stimulus, because government has created a kind of road and the institution so that government could incentivize this private investor, so that private investor could make the upliftment on this road. Getting my point? I have just put a kind of example before you how the transportation or how the road construction could help you out in generating the demand scenario. If there would be if there would be increment in the demand, it would definitely lead to the growth perspective, because demand, it's a kind of signal for the investment to make the prosperity in terms of production. Why investors has loosened up the pace for the investment basis? Why they have loosened up the pace for the investment basis? Because they are not getting any kind of stimulus, they are not getting any kind of optimum mentality, optimum viewpoint, because of the less consumption part, because there is lack of demand in the economical scenario. I hope I have made the point clear. Things which were unreachable or unbanked or unserviced area, you need to make it serviced one if you can make it. If things are into our own consideration, we can make the upliftment in it. So you need to make the mind sure about it. If things are uneasy, you need to make it easy. How would you make it how can you make it easy? Just by constructing the road and providing the facilities and amenity which are required to push the private investors to make investment. You are just required to do this. Next, what I can do, talk about the surface transportation. What we are talking about here is, as I have just told you about the background basis, what we can talk about here is increasing the coverage and quality of the roads. What we are talking here is all about, if you are increasing the coverage, what I have told you earlier at the time of our diagram, things which are unreachable, things which are inaccessible. How the things are becoming inaccessible to you? When things are getting hard, when things are getting uneasy for you, then only things become uneasy. Suppose I have a device, I do not know how to operate it, it is becoming so difficult for me, I would not use it. So the processor and the services which has been provided by that devices, I could make the utilization of, it is becoming inaccessible for me. right? If I wouldn't be able to use my device just because I'm not knowing about the properties, it means it has become uneasy. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, if you are known about certain perspective, if you are making the things simpler, if you are creating the surroundings simpler, then you are prevailing a kind of opportunity for the private investors to make the investment on the arena. Things which are uncovered, if you are increasing the pace of the construction of the roads on that behalf, plus and the quality of roads and the highways for internal and external trades. Getting my point? The things which are already available on the zones. What I'm saying here is, if you are increasing the coverage, what I have talked about, things which are unreachable to you earlier, and now you have to make it reachable by building the roads. If you are building the roads, at times you get to see things are available with the public, but which is so difficult to live over, to use that particular thing. Quality basis of those roads or quality basis of that area is not that qualitative. You need to upgrade the quality basis so that things could become simpler and public could use it, or it could become accessible. Getting my point? The first point is all about coverage of the things which are becoming unreachable to you. You need to cover that area. Second is all about the quality of the roads, how it can generate the external trade. You are making the upliftment in the demand scenario. Getting my point? Things which were earlier inaccessible, or you are reaching out to that segment, definitely it is going to raise the demand. Getting my point? Obviously, man, what we are talking about here is, earlier we used to have only 2 horizon I have to work with. Now I have opened up the base for 4 areas. If I am opening up the base for 4 areas, definitely I used to have customers for this consideration. For this outlet is 10, or for this outlet 10. Or if I am opening up the 2 outlets more, if I am covering more outlets, if I am covering more production, obviously it is going to have more customers. So it is making the more demand in the economy. Or if there would be more coverage, more quality, more simplification, it is going to generate more demand in the economy, or demand could lead to the large scale production. Demand could lead to the large scale production of the end. If there is large scale production, definitely it is going to generate the employment basis. Obviously, if things are taking place on large scale, it has to build the employment generation. It has to increase the employment generation. Getting my point? So this is all about, I have already told you about Bharatmala is the main basis. As we are talking about the surface transportation, this is only the reason we are only taking the things into consideration regarding the railways, okay, or roads. What you need to make the point here is, what you are required to make the point here is, the core part of the economy, what you need to make the consideration of, this is all about connectivity. This is all about connectivity. If you are making connectivity between the sectors, there would be more demand. Okay, there would be more demand. Okay, or there would be more demand due to higher reach or the coverage. Next point, simplification or ease or simplification of the procedure. Getting my point? These are 2 criterias you need to build for the connectivity part. Okay. So what we are talking about here, which were earlier unreachable, you have made the connectivity with, so that demand could be raised. Or if demand is raised, so you need to make the things into mind, that how this has been taken into the consideration due to the high reachability and the simplification criteria. What kind of current situation you get to see in the part. If you are writing the answer regarding the transportation part or the Niti Aayog at the rate 70, there might be any question. It could be raised any question regarding the Niti Aayog at the rate 75. I am not talking about any specific sector. You should have a kind of glance regarding all the sections. Like, you need to be updated regarding the sector, what kind of current situation is taking place. If you are writing the answer in the subjective manner, I am talking about mains. So how you need to prefer it, you just have to put it down in the words of updation, in the words of current updation first of all. Then you have to go with the flow, what is the static part. Getting my point? The current situation is all about road sector in India account for the largest share in the movement of passenger and the freight. Obviously, whatever sector it would be, be it waterways, okay, be it waterways or the railways, or the airways or roadways. These four segments we have talked about. Any trade, goods and services, any material we are making the transportation. These four are inaccessible. These four are inaccessible to the footstep. ठीक है? ठीक है? मतलब to the doorstep लिख लेते हैं. ठीक है, अनएक्सेसिबल टू दी डोर स्टेप्स की बात करते हैं. तो इफ थिंग्स आर अनरीचेबल टूवर्ड्स दी डोर स्टेप्स, यू नीड टू टेक इन ऑर्डर टू मेक द एक्सेसिबिलिटी टूवर्ड्स, no matter what kind of expansion you are making in Sagarmala project, no matter what kind of connectivity you are raising in Bharatmala or airways, roadways, in order to make the enhancement in the reachability, in order to increase the reach. So what you need to make the things into the mind, that these all will become a failure if you have not acknowledged the sector which belongs to road or which is providing you facilities or amenities at your doorstep. ठीक है? So this should be known to you. You need to keep the certain things into mind. Why you are required to make the expansion in the road sector? This is only the basis, because be it any sector, whether it is all about Sagarmala, Bharatmala, roadways or the airways, which all the sectors are inaccessible if you are not making upgradation in the road sector. So road sector is the core part in order to build the pace for the demand part. So you need to acknowledge, you need to emphasize, you need to figure it out what is the core part in every segment, or you have to work on that primary basis. Then only these bases could work on. You can think upon it once for a while. If you are building on all these sectors but roads are not building or constructed, or roadways are not being created on that same pace, there would be shortage of roads. How would you supply your products, what you are making surety in these cases? So you need to put the things into consideration for some limit. Now, we need to talk about the constraint part. You need to stretch the capacity of the existing national and state highways. Things which were earlier unreachable, things which were inaccessible. Two terms I am taking it along in the entire lecture: unreachable, inaccessible. Reason for these two terms are different. Unreachability is there because there is lack of services. Two terms are there: unreachable Second is all about unaccessible. These two things are there, which is demand. It could be, we can just make this expansion in these two criterias. We can enhance this reachability and the accessibility. If you are making the expansion in the reachability and the accessibility to the consideration, so if you are making the demand segment uplifted, if you have to make it, you need to expand the basis for the reachability. How would you make it? By making the consideration of construction. You are constructing the road, okay? And unaccessibility by making the part simplified. Or if you are generating the services, if you are building the capacities or potential, definitely there would be demand. What I am talking about here, we are just stretching up the capacities. If we used to possess 40% capacity, you have to increase it till 60%, 70%. Obviously, there would be hike in the capacity part. It would generate employment, or employment generation would reveal a kind of money in everybody's hand, money in common people's hand. And if there would be money in hand, that is going to generate consumption part, that is going to generate demand, or that demand is going to pull over the growth scenario, which is making the prosperity signal. Okay, so what I am talking about here is reaching the accessibility. If you are making the connectivity part, if there would be more connectivity, there would be more reachability, there would be more potential. Potential means capacity building. Earlier, if you used to have 40%, then you need to make the hike to 60 to 70%. You can take the example it off. Or if you are widening the gap, like if you are widening the pace of the potential part, there would be more production. There would be more production. If there would be more production, if there would be hike in potential part, then it is going to generate the employment basis. Or if it is generating the employment basis, there definitely money in hand. Okay? Money in hand, or that this money is going to create the demand. Create demand, or demand is going to attract the growth. Why this processor is so important? This is the productive part. This is the productive basis for the economy. Basis for the economy, as this flow is making the upgradation in growth, is making the increase in income along with employment part. Even if you are creating the income for 10 people, that is generating the demand for the entire 10 families. Getting my point? So if you are looking at the scenario which is connecting the things through the transportation, communication and transportation is the main basis, which is ensuring about, which is making the things about the connectivity part and reaching out to the areas which were earlier unreachable, and increasing the pace. With the help of increasing the pace, apparently it seems to have more potential, and more potential or capacity would lead to more production part. Or if there would be more production part or more production level, it has to, however, making a kind of contribution in the employment basis. Obviously, earlier I used to possess 2 machinery, now I am possessing 4 to 5. So I would require more and more labors in order to make the in order to make the machinery equipped with. So it is all about requirement, and your requirement would make a point for the demand perspectives. This is all set. Then way forward, you need to look at the perspective of way forward. Increase the connectivity by expanding the road network through. Increase the connectivity by expanding the road network through Bharatmala Pariyojana Phase 1. You are strengthening the base for 2 part, and you are just extending it to the international region as well, international countries. For the sake of example, you can take it Myanmar, or special accelerated road development program for northeastern region. It is making the extension towards the Myanmar through the northeastern region. As you are making the upliftment in the Bharatmala project, you are trying to strengthening the base for the connectivity, and you are reaching to the level of international segment through the northeastern part. Getting my point? Next, northeastern road network. You are already might be aware about the point that there is a leg of plain area if you are taking the consideration of northeastern region. If you are building the pace, if you are reaching out to the connectivity segment which are inaccessible, or you are trying to make it accessible, it is definitely going to upgrade the network. And if it is upgrading the network, it means what? Chardham Vikas Pariyojana, any kind of schemes could making the help to generate the demand part. Things which were inaccessible, you are making it accessible through the connectivity increase. Improving the road maintenance, you should not only think upon the criteria that you have to increase the bases, you have to increase the coverage, you have to be aware about the fact where there is underserved areas. There is a kind of two concepts we need to work on, that is underserved and the unserved region. Underserved is all about we do possess roads, but these are not qualitative in nature. It becomes so difficult or dangerous to transport the product and services. You need to make the surety about those reasons which are already there but underserved. It is becoming so difficult to transport through those segments. So somewhere it is making the lagging in demand, because you are not making the utilization of that area which is already there. If you are not taking the proper utilization of that area, it means underutilization, unserved area there would be, underserved area there would be. So you need to make the qualitative impact on it, or safety, by adopting the maintenance management system. Why you are not using, or why you are considering it as the underserved area? Things which is already there. Infrastructure is already there, roads are already there, but quality roads is not there. Means trade is not going to take place to the extent, just because in the fear of what if some dangerous circumstances might take place at that point of time. So you need to make the qualitative maintenance just to build the safety basis. You need to make the things simplify or secure. If you are making the secure basis of safety basis, it is definitely going to raise the demand. Getting my point? It is all about heavy penalty on the contractors for the poor qualities, because due to these reasons, somewhere it is making the danger zone for the demand perspective. Somewhere it is going to inculcate a functional part. It is going to play a significant role for the economy, for the entire economical basis. Okay. So we have talked about the surface transportation, about the quality, unserved area, underserved area, road and Bharatmala projects all about, and introducing the vocational training in order to build the road construction. As we are talking about the quality, we cannot always talk about the coverage of the areas. There is no road, you need to construct it down. No. Resources which you already possess, which you already have, you need to make it qualitative. And if you are not aware about that level of quality and potential, you need to get trained. Getting my point? You need to get trained. So you will get the help of industrial training institution through which you can learn the aspect how to build the roads and make it qualitative. So first of all, you need to make the consideration of this, and before granting testing of the driving skills. You know, you might be aware about there is safety issues in our country which is running top in the entire scenario, and like World Bank, WB is helping us out, and it is providing the loan, $250 million. They are providing the loan just to equip the road safety. Okay, just to equip the road safety I'm talking about the world loan which is providing the loan to India just to deal with the problem which is occurring with the road safety. Or if you are managing it down through a very tactical way, through a very authentic way, it might loosen the pace. It might decline the pace for the segment which is making the things happen. Getting my point? What I'm talking all about. So you need to test the advanced methods which you can use it out just to drive testing, just to use the drive testing, whether you know about driving or not. Anyhow, you are taking it anyways. Or research and development would help in this process if you have to increase the qualitative segment. Mile connectivity, mobility must move towards the multi-modal solutions. If you are taking the help of interconnectivity, main basis for the interconnectivity is transportation and the communication. What we have talked about till so far, things which are inaccessible or unreachable and inaccessible, you have to reach it down. And third, things which are already reachable but not qualitative. So you need to provide the safety perspective towards that segment. Things which are underserved. Okay, so that it could increase the base for the coverage. Getting my point? So these all are the fundamentals, or these all could take place with the help of research and development. Research and development could help in building the capacity of, and if there would be more capacity, there would be more production. Okay, so more production would be there in terms of road construction, there would be more connectivity. That is the more or less core part of the economy, or for the every segment I'm talking about. Okay. So what we have talked about, you have talked about the surface transportation, roads and railways. So you need to make the consideration of be it Bharatmala, which is railways extending to the international region, say Myanmar. Okay, second is all about be it any medium, be it anyways. Anyways means be it air, water, rope, anyways, would require the road mapping, would require roads connectivity. What I am saying here is, you are trying to you are making the talk of increasing the coverage and quality of the roads, right? Be it any segment you are talking about, be it Bharatmala project, ropeways, Bharatways, airways, you are trying to make the connections or trying to increase the connectivity. Anyhow, you need to put the focus on the dimension of roads, because this is the ultimate bearing of the things. If you are extending the pace for the airways, waterways and everything, or you are loosening the pace for the roadways, because roadway is only the medium which is reaching out to your doorstep. Doorways is only the core part which is really making the availability of resources in your hand. Because airways is limited to the segment of your airport, or railways are only limited to the level of your railway stations, ropeways are limited to your parvats. Okay, these all are the segment which is limited to the level of any area. They have particular zones on which basis they need to make the decision on. But roadways can make the availability of those products and the services to the doorsteps if you want it to go. Okay, so main core part of the transportation, that is the road, you need to make the upliftment. No matter what kind of upliftment you are making in all other segments, you have to make the pace in the same scenario. You need to make a proportional pace for the roadways if you are making the strengthening of any other ways. Getting my point? Getting my point? If you are making the pace for any sector, you need to go along with the roads. This is what the core part of the transportation. Okay, so these were the way forward. Connectivity is the core part. The more you are making the mobility, the more you are making the demand, the more prosperity would be there, because mobility is going to interlink the sectors, or that sector interlinkage is going to make the demand prospective, or demand is a kind of stimulus for the investors, or investors is going to strengthen the base for production part, or production is going to generate the employment basis, or that employment, if it is going along with the growth part, that is the signal of prosperity. So this is why we are taking the things into consideration. So hope this would help you out, and thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you.